Ava Martinez stood frozen outside the polished wooden door of a Seattle penthouse, her hands clutching a warm bag of takeout, her heart pounding under the oversized delivery jacket. The rain-soaked streets of the city glittered far below, but up here on the 40th floor, the world felt impossibly still. She knocked, expecting a quick handoff, maybe a nod. Ava barely had time to brace herself when the door swung open. A tall man with sharp features and a cold, knowing smile filled the frame. Julian Pierce, tech mogul, billionaire, and tonight, a man who saw her as something she was not. His eyes scanned her, from her damp hoodie to her nervous stance, and his voice dripped with sarcasm. "I told them I was done with these little surprises," he said, smirking. "But I must say, the delivery girl act is a nice touch. Innocent, convincing." Ava's breath caught, her cheeks burning as his words sank in. He thought she was not a delivery worker, but something else entirely, something shameful, something sent to entertain him. Her eyes widened, stinging with unshed tears, as she realized the humiliating mistake. One moment, one cruel assumption, would shatter her night and send her running into the dark. But Ava could never have guessed that this painful misunderstanding would spark a journey that would change her life and touch the heart of the man who wronged her. Can a single mistake, born of prejudice, lead to redemption, kindness, and a connection that defies all odds? Stay with us to uncover a story that will make you believe in the power of honesty, second chances, and the beauty of unexpected beginnings. If this tale of courage and heart speaks to you, hit subscribe and join us for a journey that will warm your soul. The small apartment smelled faintly of burnt coffee and damp laundry, its walls thin enough to let the April wind whistle through the cracked window. Ava Martinez sat hunched over a wobbly kitchen table, her textbook splayed open, pages marked with neon highlighters. The desk lamp flickered, casting jagged shadows across equations about water filtration systems. At 22, Ava was a third-year environmental engineering student at the University of Washington, her dreams pinned on a scholarship that could lift her and her brother Diego out of the grind of poverty. Her dark hair was pulled into a messy bun, and her eyes, red from hours of study, scanned the same paragraph for the third time. She barely noticed the rain tapping the window, each drop a reminder of the world outside that she could not afford to pause for. Diego, her older brother by 4 years, was the reason she kept going. After their mother died of cancer 2 years ago, he had dropped out of community college to work as a delivery rider, pedaling through Seattle's wet streets to pay their rent. Ava felt the weight of his sacrifice every day. She whispered to herself, "If I get this internship, I can make it right for him." Her pen scratched notes, the only sound besides the hum of a distant television. The clock on the wall read 10 p.m., and her exam was in 12 hours. She rubbed her temples, fighting exhaustion, when her phone buzzed, shattering the quiet. Diego's name lit up the screen. Ava's stomach twisted. He never called this late unless something was wrong. She answered, her voice soft but urgent. "Diego, you okay?" His reply came fast, strained, like he was holding back pain. "Ava, I messed up. I crashed my bike on a delivery run, slipped on the wet road, hit the curb. My wrist is sprained and I can barely move it. I'm at a clinic now, but there's one last order I didn't finish." Ava's heart sank. She stood pacing the tiny kitchen, her socks catching on the frayed linoleum. "Are you hurt bad? Do you need me to come get you?" "No, I'll be fine," Diego said, but his voice cracked. "It's the job, Ava. This order is for a big shot at Aurora Towers, some penthouse. The app's strict. If I skip this, they could fire me. We can't afford that. You know we need the money for rent next week." Ava froze, her eyes darting to her textbooks. The internship application deadline loomed, and she needed every hour to prepare. But Diego's words echoed, "We can't afford that." She thought of the eviction notice taped to their door last month, the late nights he spent fixing his bike to keep working. She swallowed hard. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'll do it. I'll deliver it for you." There was a pause, then relief flooded Diego's voice. "You're sure? It's just one drop-off, Ava. The address is in the app, Pierce Residence, 40th floor. Take my spare bike and jacket. The bag's already packed at the restaurant. Just get it there quick. The guy doesn't like waiting." Ava nodded, though he could not see her. "Rest your wrist. I've got this." She hung up, her hands trembling as she closed her books. The exam could wait. Diego could not. She moved to the corner of the room where Diego's delivery gear hung on a hook. A worn black jacket with the company's logo, a helmet, and a pair of gloves. The jacket was too big, swallowing her slim frame, but she zipped it up, tucking her hair under the helmet. She grabbed Diego's phone, logged into the delivery app, and studied the instructions. Pierce Residence, Aurora Towers, deliver directly to the door. No delays. Ava glanced at herself in the chipped mirror by the door. She looked like Diego, or close enough, a tired delivery worker ready to blend into the city's chaos. Her stomach churned with nerves. She had never done this before, never navigated the app system or faced a VIP client. What if she got caught? What if she messed up? She pushed the thoughts aside, whispering, "Just one delivery," then back to studying. She locked the apartment door and stepped into the damp hallway, the smell of mildew clinging to the air. Outside, the rain had softened to a drizzle, but the streets were slick, reflecting the neon signs of Seattle's Capitol Hill. Ava unlocked Diego's spare bike, a rusty thing with a squeaky chain, and pedaled toward the restaurant, a high-end sushi place downtown. The city blurred past, wet asphalt and honking cars, the Space Needle glowing faintly in the distance. Her legs burned as she climbed a hill, the bag of takeout heavy in the bike's basket. At the restaurant, a harried cashier handed her the order, a sleek black box tied with a ribbon, the kind of meal that cost more than Ava's weekly grocery budget. She double-checked the address, Aurora Towers, 40th floor, and set off again, the rain now a fine mist on her face. The closer she got to downtown, the taller the buildings grew, their glass facades like mirrors of wealth. Aurora Towers loomed ahead, a sleek monolith of steel and light, its entrance framed by polished stone and manicured trees. Ava slowed, her breath catching. She had never been inside a place like this, never even walked past it. The doorman, dressed in a crisp black uniform, eyed her as she approached, his gaze lingering on her damp jacket and battered bike. She fumbled with Diego's phone, showing the delivery code. "I'm here for Pierce Residence," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. The doorman nodded, scanning the code. "You're late," he said curtly. "Take the service elevator, left side. Mr. Pierce doesn't like delays." Ava swallowed, pushing her bike to the side entrance. The service elevator smelled of bleach and metal, a stark contrast to the lobby's opulence. As the doors closed, she felt the weight of the moment settle on her chest. She was out of place, a college student in a borrowed jacket, stepping into a world that was not hers. The elevator climbed, each floor ticking by like a countdown. At the 40th floor, the doors slid open, revealing a hallway that felt more like a museum than a home. The carpet was deep blue, the walls adorned with abstract art, and soft light spilled from hidden fixtures. Ava pushed the takeout bag under her arm, her sneakers silent on the plush floor. She found the door marked Pierce Residence, its wood gleaming under the glow of a single sconce. Her hand hovered over the doorbell, nerves twisting in her gut. She thought of Diego, his bandaged wrist, his tired smile. This was for him. She pressed the bell, the chime soft but clear, and waited, her breath shallow. The door would open soon, and with it, a moment that would change everything. She had no idea how one simple delivery, one rainy night, would unravel her world and set her on a path she could never have imagined. The door to the Pierce residence opened with a soft click, and Ava Martinez stood face to face with Julian Pierce. He was taller than she expected, his presence filling the doorway like a wall. His dark hair was slightly tousled, his white dress shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled to the elbows. His eyes, sharp and assessing, swept over her, taking in the oversized delivery jacket, the damp helmet hair, the nervous way she clutched the sushi order. Ava forced a small smile, hoping to keep this quick. "Delivery for Mr. Pierce," she said, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. She extended the black takeout box, its ribbon still intact. Julian leaned against the door frame, one eyebrow lifting, as a faint smirk curled his lips. He did not reach for the food. Instead, he crossed his arms, his gaze lingering on her face. "So," he said, his voice low and edged with amusement, "they thought a delivery girl would catch me off guard. Clever." I told them I was done with these games, but I admit the innocent act is a nice touch. Ava's hand froze midair, the takeout box trembling slightly. Her smile faltered. "Excuse me?" she said, her brows knitting together. "What are you talking about?" Julian's smirk widened, as if her confusion was part of the performance. He stepped aside, gesturing into the penthouse. "Come on, no need to play shy. Drop the act, and we can talk inside. The sushi is a cute prop, but I am not in the mood for theatrics tonight." He paused, his eyes narrowing. "Though I will say, you are more convincing than the last one." Ava's breath hitched, her mind racing to make sense of his words. The penthouse behind him was a blur of luxury, polished wood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows framing Seattle's glittering skyline, a sleek bar in the corner. But all she could focus on was the implication in his tone, the way his eyes seemed to strip her of dignity. Her cheeks burned as the truth hit her like a slap. He thought she was not a delivery worker. He thought she was something else, something sent to entertain him, something shameful. "You think," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper, "you think I am here for that?" Julian tilted his head, his expression a mix of curiosity and impatience. "Look, I am flattered," he said, "but I meant it when I said no more of these arrangements. If you want to come in and discuss a tip for your effort, fine, but I am not interested in the rest." Ava's vision blurred, tears stinging her eyes. The takeout box slipped from her hands, hitting the floor with a dull thud, the ribbon unraveling as soy sauce packets scattered. Her hands shook, not from fear, but from a rage she had never felt before. "How dare you?" she snapped, her voice cracking but loud enough to echo in the silent hallway. "I am not something you can buy. I am delivering food because my brother got hurt, because we need this job to survive. You think just because I am standing here in this stupid jacket that I am for sale." Her words spilled out, raw and jagged, each one a release of the humiliation burning in her chest. Julian's smirk vanished, his eyes widening slightly, but Ava did not give him a chance to respond. She ripped the delivery badge from her jacket, Diego's name printed in bold letters, and threw it onto the marble table by the door. "Keep your tip," she spat, tears streaming down her face. "I do not want anything from you." She turned and ran, her sneakers pounding the plush carpet, her breath coming in sharp gasps. She ignored the elevator, shoving open the stairwell door instead. The cold concrete steps blurred beneath her as she descended, two at a time, her sobs echoing in the empty space. She stumbled once, catching herself against the wall, her hands scraping the rough surface. All she could think of was the way he looked at her, like she was nothing, like her presence in his world could only mean one thing. She had faced judgment before, customers at the cafe who ignored her, landlords who sneered at her late payments. But this was different. This was a wound she could not name, a violation of her very existence. Back in the penthouse, Julian stood motionless, staring at the scattered takeout box and the badge on the table. His jaw tightened, a flicker of unease creeping into his chest. He had seen plenty of acts in his world, women sent by business partners or friends as so-called gifts, always with a wink and a promise. He had grown cynical, trained to spot manipulation. But something about this girl, her trembling voice, her tear-filled eyes, did not fit. He bent down, picking up the badge. Diego Martinez, it read, with a grainy photo of a young man who was not her. He frowned, his fingers tracing the name. A mistake, he thought, but the word felt hollow. He grabbed his phone and dialed the delivery service. His voice clipped. "This is Julian Pierce. I need to know who just dropped off my order at Aurora Towers." The manager stammered, checking records. "That was Diego Martinez, sir, but he called earlier, said someone was covering for him. A family member, I think. Female. No details on her name." Julian's grip tightened on the phone. A family member. Not an escort, not a trick, just a girl doing a favor. He ended the call and walked to the security panel by the door, pulling up the building's camera feed. The footage showed her, a slight figure on a rusty bike, pedaling through the rain, pausing to check the takeout bag before entering. She moved with purpose, no hint of deception, no glance at the camera, just a girl, soaked and tired, doing her job, or someone else's. His stomach twisted. He had been wrong, horribly wrong. Julian ran a hand through his hair, pacing the penthouse. The city lights sparkled outside, indifferent to the guilt now gnawing at him. He thought of her words, "My brother got hurt. We need this job to survive." He had not just misjudged her, he had humiliated her, reduced her to a stereotype because of his own jaded assumptions. He stopped pacing, his eyes falling on the badge again. Diego Martinez. If she was covering for him, she was likely close, a sister, maybe. He needed to find her, to make this right. He dialed his assistant, Claire, her voice groggy but alert when she answered. "Claire, I need you to track down a delivery worker named Diego Martinez," he said. "Works for a service in Seattle, probably downtown. Find his address, his family, anything you can. And I need it tonight." Claire hesitated. "Sir, it's late. May I ask why?" Julian's jaw clenched. "Because I made a mistake," he said, "and I cannot let it stand." Claire promised to start immediately, and Julian hung up, staring out at the city. He was 38, a billionaire who had built an empire on precision and control. He had faced boardrooms, lawsuits, and betrayals without flinching. But tonight, the memory of a girl's tear-streaked face shook him in a way he could not explain. He had to find her, not just to apologize, but to understand why her pain mattered so much. The next morning, Claire sent him a file. Diego Martinez, 26, lived in a low-income complex in Capitol Hill. Emergency contact, Ava Martinez, 22, student at the University of Washington. Julian stared at the name, Ava. It fit her, simple but strong, like the way she stood up to him. The file listed their address, a place far from the polished world of Aurora Towers. He could go now, show up, say what needed to be said. But would she even listen? He thought of her voice, sharp with hurt. "I do not want anything from you." He needed a plan, something more than words. He called Claire again. "I want to know everything about Ava Martinez," he said. "Her studies, her goals, her struggles, and find out if Synergy AI has any scholarship programs she might qualify for." Claire paused, then said, "I will get on it, sir, but this sounds personal." Julian did not answer. It was personal, though he could not yet say why. By midday, Claire had more. Ava was an environmental engineering major, top of her class, applying for an internship at EcoWave, a green tech firm. She worked part-time at a cafe, lived paycheck to paycheck, and had no disciplinary record. Julian read the file, picturing her at that table, studying under a flickering lamp. He thought of his own life, the penthouse, the private jets, the deals that shaped industries. He had everything, yet her defiance, her raw honesty, made him feel small. He drove to the address in Capitol Hill, a crumbling brick building with a flickering neon sign. The air smelled of wet pavement and fried food. He knocked on the apartment door, but no one answered. A neighbor, an older woman with a laundry basket, said Ava was probably at the delivery hub, returning Diego's bike. Julian thanked her and headed to the hub, a cramped garage downtown. He found Ava there, her hoodie pulled tight against the chill, handing the bike to a supervisor. Her eyes were puffy, like she had not slept. He stepped forward, his throat tight. "Miss Martinez," he said, his voice softer than usual. "I am Julian Pierce. I owe you an apology." Ava turned, her expression hardening, her hands clenched at her sides, and for a moment he thought she might walk away. "You?" she said, her voice low. "Why are you here? To make yourself feel better?" Julian shook his head. "I was wrong," he said. "I judged you without knowing you, and I hurt you. That was unforgivable. I am here because you deserve better, and I want to make it right." Ava stared at him, her eyes searching his face for a lie. She crossed her arms, her voice sharp. "You think saying sorry fixes what you did? You made me feel like nothing, like I was some kind of joke. I do not need your pity, Mr. Pierce." Julian nodded, expecting her resistance. "I do not offer pity," he said. "I offer respect. I looked into you, Ava. You are a student, a brilliant one, working to change the world. I run a company that funds people like you. Let me help, not because I feel guilty, but because I believe in what you can do." He pulled a card from his pocket, Synergy AI's logo embossed in silver. "This is for a scholarship program," he said. "Full tuition, living expenses, and a shot at an internship with EcoWave. No strings attached. You earned this, not by what happened last night, but by who you are." Ava took the card, her fingers brushing the edge, but her expression remained guarded. "Why should I trust you?" she asked. Julian met her gaze. "You should not," he said. "Not yet. But give me a chance to prove I am not the man you met last night." Ava looked down at the card, her lips pressed tight. "I will think about it," she said finally, "but do not expect me to forget." She turned and walked away, leaving Julian in the garage, the hum of the city filling the silence. He watched her go, knowing this was only the beginning. He had made a mistake, but he would not let it define her or him. Ava Martinez sat in the university lab, the hum of machinery a soft backdrop to her work. Sunlight streamed through the window, catching the glass beakers lined up on her bench. She adjusted a valve on a water filtration prototype, her hands steady despite the long hours. At 22, she was no longer just a student scraping by. She was a scholar, funded by Synergy AI's Green Future Scholarship, a program Julian Pierce had personally ensured she qualified for. The scholarship covered her tuition, rent, and gave her a stipend that meant Diego could finally quit his delivery job. Ava still worked at the cafe, but only one shift a week, enough to feel independent without breaking her spirit. Her internship at EcoWave had started 3 months ago, and already she had impressed her supervisors with a design for a low-cost water purifier, one that could bring clean water to rural communities. She wore a white lab coat, slightly too big, but it felt like armor, a symbol of the future she was building. As she recorded data, her phone buzzed with a text from Diego. "Got the shop keys today. Opening next week. You coming to the party?" Ava smiled, picturing her brother in his new bike repair shop, a small space he had leased with her help. She typed back, "Would not miss it. Proud of you." She leaned back, her eyes drifting to a framed photo on her desk, her and Diego at their mother's grave, both smiling despite the grief. That was the day they promised to keep fighting, for her. Ava was keeping that promise now, and it felt good. But her thoughts wandered to Julian Pierce, the man who had set this new path in motion. His card, handed to her in that dingy garage, had been a lifeline she almost refused. She had spent days debating, torn between pride and possibility. In the end, she applied for the scholarship, not for him, but for herself. The acceptance letter came a week later, and with it, a note from Julian. "Congratulations, Ava. This is just the beginning." She had not thanked him, not yet. Trust was hard won, and his mistake still lingered, a faint scar on her heart. But he had not pushed, had not asked for gratitude. Instead, he showed up, quietly, consistently. Their first meeting after the garage was at a campus environmental conference, where Ava presented her filtration project. Julian was in the audience, not as a CEO, but as a guest, sitting in the back, taking notes. Afterward, he approached her, no suit, just a navy sweater and a genuine smile. "Impressive work, Miss Martinez," he said. "Mind if I ask about your membrane design over coffee?" Ava hesitated, then nodded, leading him to her favorite campus cafe, a cramped spot with creaky chairs and overbrewed coffee. They talked for an hour, not about the past, but about water systems, climate goals, and the stubborn optimism it took to change the world. Julian listened, really listened, his questions sharp but respectful. It was the first time Ava saw him as more than the man who hurt her. He was someone trying to learn, to be better. Over the next few months, their paths crossed often, at eco-wave events, charity runs, or the occasional coffee. Julian shared stories of his own struggles, the pressure of running Synergy AI, the loneliness of a life where everyone wanted something from him. Ava found herself opening up too, about her mother's laugh, Diego's terrible cooking, her fear of failing. Julian never interrupted, never judged. He remembered small things, like how she took her coffee black, or how she loved the smell of rain. One afternoon at the cafe, Ava watched him struggle to balance a tray of pastries and laughed, a real laugh, not the guarded one she used to wear. "You are terrible at this," she said. He grinned, unembarrassed. "Learning from the best," he replied, nodding at her. It was a small moment, but it shifted something in Ava. She began to see him not as a billionaire, but as Julian, a man who had made a mistake and was trying to make it right. Julian changed, too. Inspired by Ava, he expanded Synergy AI's scholarship program, funding dozens of students from low-income backgrounds. He visited Diego's garage, not as a patron, but as a customer, getting his bike tuned up and joking about his lack of athletic skills. Diego liked him, which surprised Ava. "He is not what I expected," Diego said one night, tossing a wrench into his toolbox. "Seems like he gets it. You know, gets us." Ava did not answer, but she felt it too. Julian was not erasing the past. He was building something new, something real. A year after that rainy night, Ava stood on a stage at a global environmental conference in Seattle, her navy dress simple but elegant, her voice steady as she presented her water purifier to a packed auditorium. The room erupted in applause, and Ava felt a warmth she had not known before, pride, not just in herself, but in the journey that brought her here. Backstage, Julian waited, his suit traded for a gray blazer, his smile quiet but bright. "You were incredible," he said. "The world needs more people like you." Ava met his eyes, her guard softer now. "Thank you," she said, the words carrying more weight than she expected. Later, at the conference dinner, Julian took the stage for a brief speech. His voice was calm but resonant, reaching every corner of the room. "I built a company on data, on control," he said, "but I learned the most from a moment I got wrong. A year ago, I met a young woman who came to my door with nothing but honesty and courage. I misjudged her, hurt her, but she taught me what strength really looks like. Ava Martinez is not just a scholar or an engineer. She is a reminder that the greatest value lies in people, in their hearts, their dreams. I am better because of her, and I hope we all can be." The room was silent, then broke into applause. Ava, seated at a table near the front, felt tears prick her eyes. She looked at Julian, and for the first time, she saw not the man who wronged her, but the one who saw her, truly saw her. After the dinner, they walked to a balcony overlooking the Puget Sound, the city lights twinkling like stars on the water. Ava leaned against the railing, the cool air brushing her skin. "You meant what you said up there," she said, not a question, but a statement. Julian nodded, his hands in his pockets. "Every word," he said. "I was wrong that night, Ava, but meeting you was the best mistake I ever made." She smiled, a small, unguarded smile. "Maybe it was not all bad," she said. "It got me here, and it got you to stop being so serious." He laughed, the sound warm and free. They stood in silence, the city humming below, and Ava felt something new. Not forgiveness exactly, but peace. The next week, Ava visited her project site, a small community outside Seattle, where her purifier had brought clean water to families for the first time. Julian joined her, not as a donor but as a friend, rolling up his sleeves to help install pipes. They worked side by side, mud on their shoes, and when a child ran up to thank Ava, Julian watched her with a quiet awe. "You are changing lives," he said later, as they stood by a newly cleared river. Ava shrugged, but her eyes were bright. "So are you," she said. "You just needed a push." Diego's shop opening was a hit, the tiny space filled with neighbors, music, and cheap pizza. Ava and Julian arrived together, her in jeans, him in a hoodie that made Diego tease. Perception. Ava Martinez stood at a pivotal moment in her life, her choices reflecting the themes of resilience and redemption. Her story, sparked by a humiliating misunderstanding, had led her to this point, surrounded by those who mattered most, her brother Diego, and a man who had become more than a benefactor, Julian Pierce. The shop was a symbol of their shared journey, a testament to the power of second chances. Ava looked at Julian, who was attempting to fix a bike tire and failing spectacularly, and laughed. "Not bad for a billionaire," she said. He grinned, wiping grease from his hands. "Learning from the best," he replied. Their bond, forged in a moment of pain, had grown into something deeper, a friendship rooted in respect, trust, and the belief that even the worst mistakes could lead to something beautiful. Ava's life was not perfect, but it was hers, shaped by her courage, her heart, and the unexpected grace of a man who dared to change. This is a story of redemption, of how a single night, one cruel assumption, can spark a journey of healing and hope. If Ava and Julian's tale moved you, if it reminded you of the power of kindness or the beauty of second chances, then we invite you to subscribe to our channel. At your channel name, we tell stories that stir the soul, tales of ordinary people doing extraordinary things with heart. Share your thoughts below. Have you ever had a misunderstanding that changed your life? Your story matters, and we cannot wait to hear it. Hit the bell icon to never miss a tale, and join us next time for another journey that proves the smallest moments can hold the greatest meaning.